mean, Gen X is my older siblings, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
No, I'm solidly Gen X.
yeah, I am not. I am solidly afraid of Gen X.
I love I love that millennials are scared of us. And
So, but I'm not millennial. I really
you're
am
on
that
the line, aren't you?
I'm the micro generation. I think I'm the last year of the Zennial generation. That's the micro, right? So like, I did not get a phone. I got a cell phone when I was 16. It had a light up battery. So like every time that somebody was about to call me, my car would like light up. And I can't imagine having something so obnoxious now. Like, oh my God. But I was appalled when texting started. I
you're
was so
old enough
annoyed.
to be
Like,
appalled. That's some.
yeah,
That's
I
very
was
Gen
just
X.
like, why are we texting? Like,
do I have
if
this
we want to write
access?
something,
Yeah.
if we want to write something, we can write a letter. Why are we not writing letters anymore? So yeah, we had, I got like one of those things with the query pads, and I just remember like, well, when am I going to use this? Like, why would I, what would I just,
I had
like a yeah.
Sidekick. And
that's what I'm talking about.
that was
Sidekick,
my
yeah.
gateway drug, because I held off for a while going, we should not have this kind of access. This is unhealthy. And then I got my first taste and it was off to the races. And then I started Stuff Christian Culture Likes, and now you can't pull me away from technology, and it's a problem.
I remember, and this is not an indictment on my husband because he's great, but just learning how to navigate social media. I remember Facebook, and I remember him playing with the kids. This was on a weekend. And being a stay-at-home mom inside of the evangelical culture, you don't have access to anything. Like it is you and your kids, especially circa 2009, 2010, 11, that sort of thing. And I remember being on Facebook, and while my husband was, hanging out with the kids and stuff, and he was like, hey, what are you doing on there? Like, you're spending so much time on. And it wasn't that he wasn't jealous, he wasn't angry. Like, it's just that in that moment, I remember feeling like, what a parental thing to say. Mm-hmm. And I think that he was just more along the, like in the space of, hey, I'm seeing your attention split so much towards this. And I looked at him and I was like, okay, but what you don't understand is this is like my magic mirror in Beauty and the Beast, right? Like, this is my window. This is the only window that I have outside. And this is how I schedule all the kids' play dates now. Because social media was just becoming a big part of our life. Like, so all of a sudden I was texting, and all of a sudden I was doing social media, because millennials, that is their thing, right? That's like their stamp on society. Yes, I understand that it was like essentially created by Zennials and Gen Xers, but they are the ones that have really like harnessed that and taken that. And as a Zennial, as like Christian, fundamentalist Christian, trying to navigate that, there was so much guilt associated with that. There was so much shame associated with that. Like, I am not supposed to split my attention, but at the same time, I'm supposed to like be the light and schedule these play dates and do all these things with my kids. But like, what do I do? So I just remember that being a pivotal moment inside of, I think, ultimately deconstruction, right? Like, and even for my husband, because I was like, look, I have to do this. If the kids want to do something, I have to do this. Like, if I don't want to go fucking crazy, I have to do this. So,
yeah, that's the trade. That's the trade-off. It truly is. That's a good, point to start the episode and introduce you. Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie Warren.
Hello.
You're talking about being a Zennial. Say a little more about the book you've written and your whole platform around being a Zennial Millennial. And
Oh, geez. I mean, I guess I have a book, but it was shopped around to publishers, and I mean, I can go. I don't want to. I don't want to essentially shoot myself in the foot, right?
I know, right?
I do have I had a book, have where I discuss why a generation has removed itself, has gone no contact from their parents. Why we have, why the generation that's like the slippery slope, the great falling away, like why we have removed ourselves from the company of our parents and gone no contact. Unfortunately, shopping that book during a time when society is heavily influenced by, everything is being influenced by Trump. And there was just not an avenue. It was what I received back from major publishing houses was, this is great. She's a fantastic writer. We're not allowed to publish books like this right now.
So by being not allowed, these were not even Christian publishing houses, correct? They are huge names everyone's heard of.
Yeah.
And they're not allowed to publish things that challenge the administration. Okay.
Correct.
Nice. That's fun.
But I think that it's important too to acknowledge that they can, if I was famous. Right? Like there's always that caveat.
Yeah, that would be okay because that would be a big draw. It would sell. Yeah.
Right. Or, and I heard from other authors, because I was lamenting, which I think is a word we don't use. God, I sound like Trump when I say, I think it's a word we don't use enough.
It's biblical, lamenting.
But I was lamenting to other people who have published before and frustrated because I can't get this book out. And I was told by different people, like, just self-publish. Well, okay, if you want to do that right, it's thousands of dollars, like flat, full, like that. I will heavily disagree with anybody who says otherwise at that point. If you want to do it right, if you want to get a really good editor, solid representation, especially hiring a publicist for your book, like it's thousands of dollars. And anyway, they'd say, well, I'm not having that experience with publishing houses, like at all. Well, yeah, because you're an established author. You're an established journalist. So there's something to go back on. But who am I? Not to Jean Valjean this, but like, who am I? I'm not a household name. I'm not the one that they're choosing for documentaries, right? Like documentaries over and over and over. I'm watching these documentaries and I'm like, oh, I'm friends with that person. Oh, I know that person. Like I'm literally texting people in the documentaries. And I don't necessarily know where I was going with it, but I'm not the household name that people are going to necessarily like jump on and latch on and be like, yeah, we want to take a chance on her. I've often said that the way that it feels to come out of this space for a lot of us, because there are the people that, that have the book deals, the brand deals, and all of these really great things. And I'm so like, I want to make sure that I acknowledge, like, I'm really, really thankful for those people, because they are out front and they're doing a lot of really important and a very, very hard work. And there's a lot of us that feel disenfranchised in a way, that have always felt disenfranchised. Like I wasn't necessarily going to like be talking about this, but maybe I have felt like I am the idea generator for a lot of people. And you and I have talked about this privately. You and I both feel like we generate a lot of ideas, and then we watch people take our intellectual property and turn it into $1,000 ideas, hundreds of thousands of dollar ideas. And it is so defeating. And I know I had this conversation privately with another creator just recently that is doing this incredible work on Dobson. And they are watching huge, like, journalists and huge creators latch on to the stuff that they have spent years working on. Mm-hmm. And that stuff is going viral and people are listening. And it's like, yeah, no, they were the ones to generate that. They were the ones to do the research on that. And you're taking from that person and not even crediting that person.
Yeah.
And it's infuriating.
I wonder about how much of this is my Christian upbringing, how much of this is being female, cis female, growing up how I did. But like, for example, when Mark Driscoll came on my radar in like 2006, and then I did the fake Driscoll Twitter and was trying to tell people like, this guy's dangerous. And everyone, I just remember getting so much pushback. And then suddenly when he stepped down, the same guys who were telling me I was a stupid bitch are like, yeah, he's awful. And I just, I remember being like, well, at least they know now, and I don't need that credit, but it's so interesting because I don't know how much of that is me ingrained as being subservient, diminutive, oh, well, like that kind of thing. So that's a tough line to walk sometimes. So tell us about the belief systems that you grew up with. What kind of, I know you grew up in church, but like what flavor church?
Well, I mean, first off, I wanted to show you something that's, I feel like you're going to love.
Oh my God.
This is Real Marriage.
You have that in your house?
Okay, first off, I need you to understand, this is the book that well, of course you know this. This is the book that he used church funds to purchase. So it would go on the New York Times bestseller seller. But
she's showing a picture. She's showing a copy in her hands of Real Marriage by Mark Driscoll. Mark and Grace Driscoll. Yeah.
Mark and Grace Driscoll. But please notice this. They couldn't even sell it. So it went in the bargain bin at a bookstore, right? But it gets better than that because I found this at the Goodwill. And I think spent 25 cents on it. So it's like,
hell yes. Buy it all up. And that's the book burning that we need to do.
That's what I do when I go to thrift stores. I make it a point to go. I can't buy all the Christian books up, but I go through and I get the MacArthur, the Driscoll, the Dobson, like things that are so harmful. And when I can, I pick out the ones that I know are the absolute most vile, and I buy them so that nobody else has an opportunity to like spread that nihilist, terrible shit.
It's a community service.
It really, it is. And, we're talking like $1. So it doesn't feel like
You're
that much of a
saving
I mean, it's my way of
therapy.
tithing.
It is.
Right.
Yes.
I'm tithing.
Paying it forward.
So what did I grow up? What system of belief did I grow up with? That Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the light. No man can come to him except through the Father. And the Father.
To the Father except through him.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just playing with you. Sword drill.
Really, what it comes down to is I grew up with this idea that our job is to evangelize the gospel of Jesus Christ. But the gospel of Jesus Christ took on the form of an Old Testament God of wrath, that everything, you can't do anything through yourself, through your own merit. Everything has to, you do everything through this God of wrath, including like your worldview, your perspective is this God of wrath. I grew up with the knowing that God chose me to be born and to be raised in this generation so that I can reclaim America for Jesus. I grew up doing, military cadence marching drills to songs that, obviously like, you and I both know I may never march in the infantry. Right. I'm in the Lord's army. And we marched to that.
Yes,
whether
sir.
it was in place.
I'm
yeah,
in the Lord's
right.
army. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And we didn't know that we were being trained. We didn't know that it would inevitably lead to us storming a Capitol and trying to incite a coup. We didn't know. We were 3. We were in VBS. We were in youth groups. So just this like deep culture of shame covered in the idea that if we perform this, then we belong. I grew up believing that, purity culture, sex before marriage, anything like that, even thinking about it, even looking at a boy or causing a boy to look at me was sinful. Just everything revolved around the church and what was governed, how, whatever rules James Dobson filtered down. I make the joke that I was raised by my parents and Dobson. I had 3 parents. And although I did not grow up with, I really didn't grow up with Adventures in Odyssey. I had one
same.
cassette tape. Everybody else had Adventures in Odyssey, but you had to pay for that. So
My parents weren't gonna do
didn't
that.
pay for that. Right. Like we had the Focus on the Family magazines, but like we're not going to pay for Adventures in Odyssey. If we happen to hear it on the radio, we happen to hear it on the radio. But we always listened. My parents always listened to the stuff that came on after Adventures in Odyssey, which was Dobson. So I knew his voice like I know my parents' voice. I know Joyce Meyer's voice like I know my parents' voice. I know the voice of Twyla Paris and Sandy Patty, which were always these beautiful soprano singers because women who are beautiful have high soprano voices that are angelic. They are like the
Amy
angels.
Grant.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just they were beautiful like that. I grew
They were
up with
blonde. I
this-
mean, I guess Amy wasn't, but that was something.
Right.
I was always like, how are they letting her get away with not being blonde? I remember thinking that about Amy
right,
Grant.
and the divorce.
Oh God. Well, that was curtains for her for a little while.
Well, interestingly enough, my mom was like Amy Grant was still very much a part of our life, even when she got a divorce. I think it's because she married Vince Gill, and my mom thinks Vince Gill is quite the man.
Amazing.
So probably because he has a high voice.
Oh my God. That's too funny.
He's angelic. But I grew up in Christian nationalism. Speaking in tongues, which wasn't something that my church practiced, but something that they encouraged. But it wasn't like a big thing. The sister church they were heavily Assemblies of God influenced.
Now, did you grow up Assemblies of God, or that was just your sister
No.
church? What was the denomination of your church you grew up in?
Non-denomination.
It's not.
but
Okay, one of those.
Yeah,
Got it.
I would say we were more so. When I talk about non-denomination churches, I always feel like the best way to describe them is like they pick the worst parts of the denomination doctrines and it's just at whatever sticks, whatever weekend they want to implement something new. So I had a lot of like independent fundamentalist Baptist ideology, Pentecostal, Assemblies of God. My aunt, who is the one that got my parents into church, because like my parents shopped religions, because they grew up Catholic.
Oh,
And
both
so
of them?
they like, yeah.
Oh my God,
yeah.
that was a leap.
Yeah. So they grew up Catholic, and they just wanted something different from their parents. Like they really were, like they the hippie type of thing. Like my dad was a hippie, and he just wanted something that wasn't his parents, which I think we all experience. So I can't fault him for that. I can't fault him for like, yeah, I want something totally different. And they shopped around Mormon, and I know what an interesting world that would have been. We are not blonde.
Honestly, it might not have been too far off from
I know, right?
where we ended up.
I think that I actually would have had a lot more freedom with the fact that like Mormons had more interesting things during the 90s and the early 2000s. Like they had dances, they
Yes.
could listen to modern music.
Yes. One of my
They
good friends
seemed more
growing up,
fun.
she was Mormon, and she would go to a special class every morning before school started, but
Yeah.
she never talked about it. But they were so Mormon, but she never talked, and it freaked me out being evangelical Baptist, however I grew up. I'm like, you're supposed to tell everyone your good news. Like, what is the deal here? She never says a word.
I
And they
know,
were allowed to
it
go
was-
to dances.
right? In one of, so I think it's C.S. Lewis that says this. It could be somebody else. I don't know. Share the gospel, and if you must, speak.
Is it St. Augustine?
Is it St. Augustine? I don't know.
I don't know either.
But I feel like we were the ones that were like bloviating. We were the ones that were
Exactly.
so obnoxious. And,
Obnoxious.
yeah. And then I remember this gal in high school, her name was Chrissy, and she was a Mormon, and she would always invite me to like these Mormon dances. And I remember just being told, it's a cult, it's a cult, it's a cult. So like I would just like practically run away. Like I didn't even know how to respond to her. But we were taught that everything was a cult because of course we were the ones that named all the cults first. And there was like a hierarchy of cults, right? So like there was Mormon, but Jehovah's Witness, those J-dubs were like the worst of the worst of the worst. And really, when you look at it, it's all the same. Evangelical, J-dubs.
Were you
like,
taught that Catholicism was
absolutely.
Yeah.
That was really bad because of Mary.
Yes.
Because the Bible says you will love the Lord your God. You will have no other gods before me. And,
yes,
and it was
they
always
worship
like they pray.
saints. They pray
Yeah,
to saints. And
exactly.
now I know that they're just like, it's like asking a friend to pray for you. And the Baptist evangelicals believe in the cloud of witnesses. I'm like, okay, I'm getting that's what this is.
Well,
They
and
won't have
here's
it.
an interesting thing. Pentecostals, they do have saints.
They do, don't they? Yeah, y'all talk about saints.
Yeah. So it's just strange. Yeah, I mean, my aunt was heavily Assemblies of God, and that's who got that's who saved my parents.
Wow.
And it just every year ramped up. Every year was more intense because I have memories of being 5 years old, 5, 6 years old, and riding in the car, our big old Astro tan van, with like the vinyl flooring, and if you know, you know, it's a smell. It's the smell of the 90s, right? And I was riding in there with, like a glow in the dark handmade puffy paint T-shirt, sitting next to, my siblings that were listening to New Kids on the Block and Wilson Phillips. And the summer of 1990, 1991, I have those memories, but then it's like the lights go out and everything becomes about making sure we're performative.
The battle of good and evil.
Yeah, exactly. Like I just remember one day there was New Kids on the Block and there was Wilson Phillips, and the next day it was DC Talk, the Newsboys. It was like all of that, and that was more. my parents didn't necessarily listen to that. My mom was all about the Dobson tapes and Joyce Meyer, and she just listened to sermons nonstop, and worship music. And then my dad was still like a hippie at heart. So like he would listen to the Eagles and Led Zeppelin and,
oh my God.
you know, Pink Floyd and stuff. Yeah. I mean, like a true Washingtonian Pacific Northwest.
He was probably guilty though. He probably had some latent guilt over that.
You know, like a true Pacific Northwestern though, like Dave Niehaus is what, you know, permeated the halls of our home in the summertime with the Mariners and all of that. So it's just that was my.
There were blips of normalcy.
A little bit, yeah. Evangelicals are a curious case, right? Because they are the ones that everybody believes are the pinnacle of morality and parenting and everything. But like in reality, they are abusing their kids in plain sight, and they have permission by society to do that because society believes they're the pinnacle of morality. And so childhood, like it was just very dark, very, very dark. And I think that the more I distance myself from this, the more I realize how bad it really was. Somebody once told me a couple years ago when I was new to social media that if you question, was it really that bad? I promise you it was worse.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And, yeah.
So when did you begin to question your beliefs? Like, what's your earliest memory?
High school.
Okay.
Yeah, high school. Especially out of high school. All of my friends, you know, from high school were going to college. And it just wasn't. I remember I was going, it was like, I want to say it was like February or March. Everybody was making their college decisions. And at the time, I was in a private school. I had my upbringing was unconventional as far as education, because I would go from private school to public school to homeschool to private school to like all over the board, whatever the whim was. That's a story for another day. And at this point I was in a private school, and I went to the library because at the time, if you wanted to go and fill out college applications or scholarships, you had to go to the library. And so I had the big binders out. I remember my dad called me and he was like, "Hey, where are you?" And I said, "I'm at the library. I'm looking up scholarship information and college information." And he was like, "Oh, honey, you're not going to be going to college. Like your grades aren't, like, you're not going to be doing that."
Was that even true?
Yeah. No.
How were your grades?
So fast forward, I believed that I was a really, really bad student. I had no idea. I just believed that I was really, really bad. Because I did struggle. I absolutely struggled. And I look at it now, and it's because of the immeasurable dysfunction in my home. It was from the physical abuse, emotional, mental, and spiritual abuse that was going on every single day, the inundation with it. And I struggled in school. But here's the fascinating thing. It never sat well with me, because I didn't actually see my transcript until I have a trunk that used to be my mom's. It's like a train trunk. And inside it, I have like memorabilia from high school.
Chest.
And yeah, a hope chest. Exactly. You know, it was called that.
That's what we call them back home.
But it has like my prom invitation. It has pictures in it, you know, just different things. And tucked behind my diploma was my transcript. And I pulled that out. Now, transcripts become a lot more easier, I think, to understand when you have kids that are college bound and you're starting to pay attention to that for your own kids, right? Like you don't really, I didn't really pay attention to my transcript when I was in high school, even post high school, even when I went to go into college, mid 30s, I didn't really pay attention to my transcript. I just said like, here it is. And I sent it off. I didn't look at it. I just was like, oh yeah, it's just proof that I graduated. And I didn't even think it was impressive, so I didn't want to look at it, and I just sent it off. I pull out my diploma, and I was like, oh, my diploma. And I pull out the transcript. And I had a 3.8 GPA.
Stop it.
I had the GPA that gets you into the University of Washington right
And
now,
a
which is
full
like one
ride.
of the. I had a 3.8 GPA. On top of that, what didn't sit well with me is that I had the academic honors certificate, like the President of the United States National Academic Honors Award. Like I had the certificate, and I was like, oh, I had this. Like I didn't know what it means. I didn't know what it meant until my kids were receiving that. And so I went to an award ceremony several years ago when my son received it, and then last year when my other son received it. And what a big deal that was. Like they got courted. It was a big deal. And I was like, oh, that's fine. Like I had one too.
I'm so angry at your dad or and whoever kept this
It was
from
both
you.
my parents. Yeah.
I'm so angry.
So it just feels that I feel like that explains how we grew up.
Yes.
Is that it didn't matter that I was intelligent because I was a woman.
Well,
What a
you were a
waste.
threat.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
We couldn't
And
have
it's
you
interesting-
having too much awareness. We couldn't have you going off to college. My parents were
Yeah.
terrified that I'd get sucked in with the liberal crowd. And they should have been.
So instead, and I don't regret this part. I mean, I went out line dancing with my friends. I wasn't even supposed to go to, it was like this underage line dancing club. Underage meaning like 16 and up, which is disturbing because like they had like men in their mid 20s there. Now that I think that's very disturbing. That's probably why it no longer exists. So I went with my friends. I mean, I was 18. I had just graduated high school. And I met this guy, and we are celebrating 22 years of marriage.
That's where you
Coming
met
up.
your husband, line dancer?
That is where, yeah,
in the
line
state
dancing.
of Washington? That's so crazy.
In the state of Washington, yeah. And, you know, I remember he went and he met my dad. It was like our first or second day. I don't know. We met my dad, but my dad went upstairs. So the story goes, my dad went upstairs to my mom and he was like, I just met our future son-in-law. And
Okay.
he just knew, but it was heavily influenced. What I didn't know at the time is that my parents were planning to move. Like I had just graduated high school. I did not have any plans. Like, what was I going to do? I was told that I was basically stupid.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't have any, I had nothing laid out for me. No plan, no conversation. I just knew that my friends were going to college or my friends were getting married. Those were the options.
That's all we knew. Yeah.
And I didn't know that my parents were planning on moving. And within 2 months of graduating high school, they were gone. They just moved. They moved to California. They wanted to build houses for missionaries. This gets good. My aunt and uncle owned 20 acres in the Sierra Nevada foothills in California. My uncle passed away from cancer, and my mom and dad were like, let's move down there. This is the Assemblies of God aunt. Let's move down there and like build houses. So when missionaries want to take a respite, like want to take a Selah, if you will, they have somewhere to go. Well, spoiler alert, like that didn't happen. They moved down there, and then they ended up within a couple of years moving to northern Idaho, because that didn't work. But they left me here. I had the option. They said, well, you could move down with us. And I'm like, to do what? Like live in the middle of the mountains. And my dad basically transferred responsibility. It was a transfer of goods to the man that I was like dating at the time, which ends up being my now husband. But basically like, she's yours now.
Yeah.
And that's just how it worked. It was a transfer of goods.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah,
What
but I
happened
don't
to
talk
them?
about.
Okay. Oh, we don't have to.
Well,
I was just wondering where
yeah,
you are,
no,
the birth
one.
order, and but as far
I'm
as your
the
parents
youngest.
moving. Oh, okay. So you were like, they're
Yeah,
like, okay, nest is empty. We're out of here.
yeah,
I
and
got it.
there's a whole reason that I can't.
Yeah, of
I
course.
won't get into on here, but no, they abandoned me. They fully abandoned me. Like I ended up moving by myself into an apartment, fresh out of high school. It was in a real bad area of town. There was a situation where like some guy, stranger, ended up stalking me. And my boyfriend at the time had to like drive up. He grew up in South, the South Sound, and then I grew up in the North Sound. So like it was a good hour and a half drive up to my apartment, and so he would come up, and it was just terrifying. Like I remember one time calling 911 because this guy was like banging on my door, and I'm calling 911, and they're like, well, you're not in our jurisdiction. Like, you're not within city limits, but also, like, I fell in this really weird pocket where I wasn't even in county. And they're just like, well, we don't know. We're going to transfer you. And I kept going, like, transferring back and forth and back and forth. And I'm like, I'm sitting there literally in a corner holding a knife, thinking, I'm going to die. Like, I don't know what to do. And that's when my boyfriend at the time, he shows up, and this guy is literally pacing back and forth of my, like, so I lived on, it was 2 floors, and I lived on the top floor. And this guy was just like walking back and forth in front of my apartment. And now my husband, he like walks up, and this guy was like, oh, I forgot to get my coffee or something, like he's now going towards where the main highway was. And my tires were slashed at one point. Like I couldn't get to work. I ended up getting fired from my job. Like my tires were slashed. And it just,
You were on your
that,
own.
yeah, I was very
You were a
much
child.
on my own.
You know,
I was
the 18 is legal adult, but they're still children.
not just that, being a child, inside of the evangelical movement, you stop maturing at the age of 13, 14, because that's when you develop your critical thinking and logic skills, and you start to differentiate yourself from your parents, and you just start to develop your own thoughts, feelings, and opinions, and they stop you there. So when I escaped the cult, I was easily the emotional level of a 13, 14-year-old. So to do that side, like I commend anybody that escapes this, because the amount of maturing that you have to do instantly is so overwhelming and so staggering. And it was like I was thrusted into this world that I was told to fear at the age of, in my 30s. And nobody was telling me how to do this. Nobody's holding my hand. Like I
No role
stopped
models.
being
No
right. I stopped
examples.
being parented when
Yeah.
I was 18 years old. Like I was on my own. And yes, I mean, if my parents are listening to this, I will give them the fact that, yeah, they helped pay for the apartment. But that came at a huge cost, because I was guilted and shamed relentlessly.
Yeah. Held it over your
so-
head, the financial
Yeah.
control.
Yeah. So I stopped going to church at that time.
What was the pushback
And-
when you first began to push back against and question your beliefs? What did you come up against when you stopped going to church, like you just said, and just making noise about it?
It was interesting because it was an okay thing
All right.
to stop going to, because the church that I grew up in, my parents stopped going to that church. So they took like a break, like a significant break. Like I was still going to church and they were not. Because, they had Dobson and they had Joyce Meyer, so like they could listen to sermons all the time. And yeah, I know.
They had their dear leader.
It's so true. It's interesting because like my mom would look at other, like Kenneth Copeland and those people and be like, they're horrible. They're just like prosperity. I'm like, and Joyce Meyer isn't? Like, have you been to her stuff? It's so heavily like grifting and, but So, I mean, I continued going. So when I stopped going, it was more of an affirmation that like, oh yeah, like finally our whole family has stopped going to this church. And my brother went into the military, so he was all over, doing he was in the Navy. So it was fine that I stopped going to that church because they could rationalize it because they felt victimized and bullied from that place. And
Interesting.
so they rationalized it. It just made sense to them. So, and then I moved down by where I moved in. I had a roommate who worked with my husband, and I had a boyfriend at the time, and we ended up getting really sucked into like this really small vineyard cult. That's a story for another day. That place was weird. It's like a cult inside of a cult inside of a cult. So weird.
Cult
and
sandwich.
yeah, exactly. So, just when I really, really started distancing myself is 2006. I switched parties. I went from being,
You were 20 years old when you switched parties?
So I 84.
Oh, okay.
So 22.
Okay.
Yeah. 84 is my birth year. So
I was thinking 86. Okay, 22. And that
Yeah.
was when Obama was running
2006 were the midterms.
midterms.
Yeah. So I voted for Bush in '04, and then and that was my very first election. So I was super excited. And then switched. And that I think was then I started getting a lot of like, well, who are your influences? You need to be careful of your influences, right? Because like, you need to stop, maybe you need to stop hanging around this person. Like sweetie, I noticed that when you started talking about hanging around this person, your personality has shifted a little bit. And I'm just getting a little concerned about your heart. And like, maybe you should, what, is there like a church or, I'd been married by that point for a couple of years. My husband and I got married when we were 20. So I'd been married for a couple of years. And we were just trying our best to be good Christians.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm seeing like, hey, you say you love Jesus, but then you're like, we're not going to feed the poor, but we're going to read about Jesus feeding the poor. So it's just not making sense. I'm voting Democrat. And it was something that I had to be so quiet about. Like only my parents knew.
And I bet they were
and of
so
course-
ashamed they would never tell anybody.
Right.
On
And
top
then
of
like,
that.
obviously like my husband, he was voting, him and I were both like voting Democrat. And it took a really long time. And I started just doing little subversive things inside of the church, challenging narratives. Towards the last bit of my, professional Christian career, I was a worship leader. By the time it all ended, I was a worship leader in a mega church, and I was leading small groups. We were going out to dinner with the head pastor. Essentially, like if you looked at the resume, we had arrived. You know what I mean? Like worship leader in a mega church that broadcasts worldwide. Like not on like TBN, but
Was this Greg Laurie's church?
no.
Okay. I don't know enough about him, but I know that you like take him on and it's amazing online.
Oh, no, I take on Greg Locke. I don't know. Who Greg
Oh, okay.
Laurie is.
Sorry.
Yeah.
GL, that's all I know about these
Yeah.
douche lords.
So I don't know. It was a process. Like, eventually I'd gone up to the wife and the pastor's wife and said like, hey, statistically speaking, cause I was like one of the heads of the women's ministry of this place. And I was like, statistically speaking, a lot of women in this place, cause we had a small group, and in that small group, all but one couple, I could tell the men were abusing their girlfriends or their spouses. Like there was just hard evidence that supported this, right? And I was just like, look, this is a problem. And so I approached her and I was like, at our next women's event, I'd like to put stuff in the bathroom that lead them to this specific place. And it's the, it was the, like the main domestic violence sort of like help center, if you will, in the South Sound. And she was like, oh no, we actually, anybody that's experiencing that, we send them to Celebrate Recovery, because that's also their ministry that you would essentially be like paying into. The problem is Celebrate Recovery, something that they don't talk about is they have rape victims seated next to sexual predators that have just gotten out of prison, because it is a court sanctioned rehab program that they can go to. That's okay with like their parole officers and that sort of thing. So you will have rape victims next to people that are on the registry. Like there were times, so I led worship there. And there were times where I would have somebody come up to me and say, hey, so, we have somebody that's attending, that we feel it's necessary for you to have an escort out to your car. But yeah, sure, go ahead and send domestic violence victims to this place, because what are they getting recovery from? Like they are not personally recovering from the spirit of pride from this, because that's what you recover from, right? Like you recover from like, I am working really hard to recover from, I'm recovering from like the spirit of anger, the spirit of pride, the spirit of this. Like, no, bitch, you're not. Like someone sent you, like, no, you're, yeah.
And they're being told that their anger is sinful.
And I'm not saying like they're bitches. I mean, like,
yeah, totally. Yeah. If they're being told I'm supposed to recover from my anger, your anger is there to keep you alive and keep you safe. Thank you, anger. It needs literally the least you should be is angry. Yeah. That was just a huge emotion that was punished when we were growing up.
Yeah. So pulling at that string, again, like one of the things that we did inside of this church is, I was part of creating, there was this like underground sort of situation where if we knew that there was a woman that was in a domestic violence situation and she wanted to escape, she would call one number. That person would send her to another phone number. That person would send, like, it was just a chain of phone numbers. I never knew when it stopped. I just knew that, hey, I'm sending this person to you. Okay. And then my job was to get them information to, I believe it's the Crystal Judd Center. And the Crystal Judd Center would then, like, that's the major domestic violence hub in the South Sound. I say hub, it's like the Crystal Judd Family Center. And that would send her like that. Or sometimes it wasn't that. Sometimes it was, I send her on to this house, or I send her on to this number who's going to send her on to a house. And we know that we saved women. We know that we saved families. I don't know how many, right? I just know that that's something that we created. And, I don't know if it's still going on inside. I doubt it. It's a deeply Christian national church, but that's something that we did before the pandemic. And because it's like, if we weren't going to address it, if we weren't going to address it head on, if we weren't going to talk about it from the pulpit, we're still going to save women. We're still going to make sure that women and children get to safety. So, yeah, we did that. I remember addressing racism and homophobia, transphobia, and stuff. Just being subversive with it, like, oh, really? So why do you feel like God hates this? Like, let's really talk about this. Or just always referring to people that were in same-sex partnerships only as like a really good thing, and only referring to people as the pronouns that they wanted inside of every single situation. And you might think that that's human decency, but that was risking everything inside of a space like that. Like, that was knowing that at any moment my family can be ousted from this church. And we were ousted out of many churches because I couldn't keep my big fat mouth shut.
Good.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
it was a hashtag blessing that they kicked you out for that.
Yeah. So essentially it was the pandemic. I mean, at one point, my pastor just, they just stopped for me being where I was at. We didn't go back. Like, they were one of the earlier churches to open, and we didn't go back, and they never contacted us. Like, the last time, this weekend that we just had, this upcoming weekend, is officially, it was either the last one that we just, no, this one upcoming will be the last. It'll mark 6 years as the last time that we stepped foot in church.
Yeah. Beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah. So it is wild. And we still have, I'm like, it just was, we were ready. And we never wanted to go back. And I tell this story of, like, we were about to get our vaccines, and my husband came up to me and he was like, "Hey, like, when do you feel we should go back to church? Because we're like going to get our vaccines." And I looked at him and I was like, I can't go back. And he was like, "Well, like, why? What's going on?" And I said, "Well, because I have to hate myself to walk back into that building, because they only will accept me if I hate myself. And I have begun to like myself, and I can't ever go back to hating myself." But that's who they love. That's who they love. I say in air quotes, is a version of myself that hates her. And I can't do that to myself. And he was like, "Well, do you want to go back to any church? Like, how do you feel about that?" And I thought, my God, this is like the thing that ends marriages, right?
Right.
Like, if I tell him, and I just looked at him and I said, "I don't want to go back to church at all. Like, I can't raise our kids in church, because I have seen the truth of who they are through how they have openly chosen to hate and not love one another. They are not good to their neighbors. Like, I have seen this firsthand. I can't go back." And he looked at me and he goes, "Good, because neither can I."
Yes.
And it was, I remember looking at him at one point and saying, "What happens if I said, "I'm afraid that I'm going to deconstruct so much that I'm going to become an atheist, and that you're going to divorce me."
Wow.
And he was like, "No, I think atheists are cool." Like, it was just like, I don't care. It is interesting. I feel like he's like way more of, like, atheist, agnostic, like, I don't know, like, because we don't care.
He's a
it's
good
something
person.
that we don't talk about.
Because y'all understand what love is, despite your upbringing's best efforts.
Yeah. Yep. Like, he doesn't care that I have like a giant collection of tarot and oracle cards. Like, it's, I mean, in this house, both the Bible and tarot exist. They coexist. We're letting our kids figure out what they want. I do feel, like, we had a big discussion with one of my kids the other day about, like, 'cause he was asking questions, like political questions. And I always stress to my kids, like, you're going to hear Dad's and my opinion, but you will not leave my house. You will not become a voter and not know how to do your own research. Like,
nice.
That's not going to happen, because
Oh my God.
I came to this place on my own. Yeah. I formed my own opinions. They are not yours. You get to form your own thoughts, your own opinions, and your own feelings. But by God, you're going to learn how to research it. Because I don't care. I guess if they vote Republican, they vote Republican, but they're going to know why. So that way, when my kids and I get to argue, they're going to be able to stand firm on their points. Like,
beautiful.
Be that. Learn how to argue policy.
Yeah.
But figure out where you stand. But I'm not going to indoctrinate you into how I feel. And so we have a lot of discussions about that. Do my kids make jokes about evangelicals and Christian nationalists? Yes, they do.
They should.
Yes, they do. They do. Especially my youngest. She's probably the most vocal. And so I do have to stop her. I'm like, hey, babe, you just kind of overhear this stuff. Like you don't totally
that's
know
funny.
it. But she told me the other day, she's like, my best friend and I got in this debate today. And I was like, oh, what was the debate? She's like, over whether or not taking the Lord's name in vain is actually, oh my God, or if it's just being a hypocrite. Like, I was like,
That's a really good debate to get into
cool.
at that age.
And she's like, obviously, it's being a really bad person and treating people terrible, but telling them that Jesus loves them anyway. Like, she's like, obviously, that's taking the Lord's name. You know, like that's.
Your
right,
kids
babe.
are going to be fine. I love it. So you went no contact with your parents
I did.
before or after you left this church in 2020?
After. Yeah,
Okay.
it'll be 3 years in May. At the end of May, it'll be 3. It really just a great decision. And it's like by the time I decided to do that, it was already past the time to do that. And here's the interesting thing about, I don't know if you experienced this too, but when you become unequally yoked inside of that system, unequally yoked, for those that like don't understand it, it's this idea of like oxen being yoked to the plow, correct? Mm-hmm. Like I'm just making sure that I understand my biblical understanding for speaking to somebody that like actually went to a real biblical. You're really biblically educated.
No, I mean, I went to a state university, but.
That's right.
But David has an MDiv, so.
That's what it is. Yeah. But being unequally yoked, like you are not allowed to be in an unequal partnership or an unequal friendship. And that's like the thing that we feared most growing up is like, I cannot be friends with this person because they're going to be, I'm going to be unequally yoked. And when I officially left, I remember, I remember having this conversation with my mother that about the evangelical movement. I was like, I don't like the evangelical movement because it's politics. The evangelical movement is a political movement. And I was just like, I don't like it because I don't like how they treat people. That's not how Jesus treats people. And she goes, watch it, daughter. She's like, I identify as an evangelical. And I was like, well, then you identify as a political movement. And she was just like, there wasn't anything. I remember she was just like silent. And she's like, oh, well, you know what? I've got to go get stuff done. I've got an appointment. And then it was just like, okay, bye.
Sweep that under the rug. That didn't happen.
But one of the things that happens when you're unequally yoked is, because they believe this idea that God never gives up on anybody. So they are not allowed to give up on anybody. But my God, they are going to make life with them so fucking hard that it forces the other person to walk away, because then they can say, well, they just could not be within the love and the light of Jesus. Like their heart is so far gone from God that, darkness can't be in the presence of light and still remain dark. So they have to go,
they represent the light. And so we are the ones that walked away. They're like, we're so loving to them. Mm-hmm. Even though there were times where my dad would just say, be like, what do you want? Just say it. Just say that you don't want us in your life. Just say the words. Say, like, he would be every conversation. Rather than that, why couldn't he say, why does my daughter not want to be in my life? Why don't they ever take that tack?
Yeah.
That's what I hope I would do if my kids were acting like they didn't want me in their lives.
Yeah.
And people would say to me, they're like, what if your kids go no contact with you? I'm like, I'm not worried about that, because I don't try to hyper control them. I don't pathologically ignore them. It's just not going to happen.
Right. And here's the thing. If we've been raised in a situation that is inherently narcissistic, so it not only is the foundation of it is narcissistic, it benefits narcissism or narcissists. And like, I think that it is impossible. Like if you came from a space of Christian nationalism, of anything like that, there is a hint of narcissism in your family, because you have to have that in order to keep it going. So when you've been raised inside of a system by people that are, for people that are, you're going to be hypersensitive to how you parent.
Yeah.
And constantly asking yourself, like, oh my God, am I a narcissist? Am I a narcissist? Am I a narcissist? And I one of my really, one of my good friends, she's just like, look, if you are asking yourself if you're a narcissist, you're not a narcissist.
Narcissists don't ask that ever. And my friends who are therapists say they don't have clients who are narcissists that just come to them and say, I need to, I'm having this problem. I need to work on myself. They will come and complain about everything that's happening to them, but they don't last long, because she will try to get them to work on themselves and then they quit. They just bail. And she's like, the people that come with earnest, honest seeking, really thinking, this is my fault, what can I do? Those are the victims of the narcissists, who are the empaths,
Yeah. So I had some great advice from somebody very, very close to me. And they said, when you have a conversation with your parents, make sure you use the I statements. I feel, when you do this, I feel this. And that was probably one of the most helpful things, because it helped me focus my energy into something. Like, I wrote down some bullet points and I focused my energy, and I was like, when you did this, I felt this. When you did this, I felt this. And it was just like boom, 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 boom. And it was the end of May, and it was just like, I hung up, and I expected to be just like gutted. And I just went about my day, and I realized that we had gone no contact so long ago, because the only time I'd communicate is if, whenever it was convenient with them, like they might call, but I'd go weeks without hearing from them. So I didn't even notice that there was an absence for like a couple months.
And that just says that they were very emotionally absent for a very long time.
Yeah.
They probably never emotionally connected with us.
I don't believe that I had a better relationship with my dad than I did with my mom, but I don't think that my mom ever did. And yeah, I would agree with that. I think that, first off, in the evangelical space, there's a lot of competition with mothers and daughters. And it's just how it works, right? Because we're all competing for the position of power, which is the only position that women can get, is the one that's right underneath or, adjacent to a white male. And that's how white evangelicalism works, is like all the women are competing for that one position of power. And that's why there's so much jealousy and animosity and vindictiveness. And why women relationships don't work very well. Even if you have a bestie inside of your church, you're still at competition with her.
Yeah.
You can't have true community and true friendship inside of the evangelical movement, inside of, Christian nationalism and fundamentalism. So I think that played a huge, huge part in the relationship that I had with my mom. And it's the very thing that pushes women into therapy, so that they don't repeat that with their own daughters. Because that's how I was raised. That's the system that I saw. That's how you parent. That's how you mother, right? That's what the matriarch is inside of that space, is competition and backstabbing and vindictiveness. So I think if anything that somebody needs to go to therapy for, it's probably, as a woman, is probably that, figuring how to not perpetuate that going forward.
And you've written about that a lot on your Substack, haven't you? I feel like I've read stuff like this from you, and you're the only person I've heard talking about this particular aspect of white evangelicalism, because I remember feeling very much like I was in competition with my mom for my dad's attention.
Yes. Yep.
And it made me feel guilty. It made me feel crazy, but I also knew what I knew. And it was dark. It's like, oh no, my mom like can't be my mother. She can't mother me well if she sees me as some kind of threat.
It's, here's the interesting thing that a couple years ago, maybe it was even a year ago, I don't know the time frame. Everything post COVID, like from 2020 on, I don't, are we living in like some suspended place? Cause I don't think time is relative, right? I was having a conversation with my husband, and I said to him something that my mom had always said to me, and just that she didn't. So I came years after my siblings, not like a decade, but there's a 6-year gap between me and my older sibling, and a 4.5-5 year gap between so there's 3 of us, between me and my middle. And I always like looked at that and thought, what was I planned? Like, what was I? And my mom would always say, I was fine with having 2 kids, but your dad really wanted 3. And so I let him, so I had a 3rd. And my mom had a name
to your child.
My mom had a name picked out like that. I think my mom wanted to name me Catherine. And when I was born, my dad held me, and he was like, "This is Stephanie." Like he gave me my name, and I think that it was just competition, because the way that my dad and I have a very special bond. We will always have a special bond, even though I definitely have. There needs to be that separation.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of the same similarities. Like, my dad gets so angry at injustice. It's just misguided. And my dad is a writer. My dad is a creative. He's a musician. Like, I have a lot of I share a lot of personality aspects with my dad. I do not with my mom. I am my dad's daughter. I am not my mother's daughter. But I come from a line of very strong women that, like, learning about, so when you've gone no contact, you lose the ability to have any access. And that is a grief that I don't think enough people talk about. Like, my family photos are in their garage.
Same. My yearbooks, everything. I'm never going to see them again.
I have no access to I can't pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Mom, I just found this out. Is this true?" Right? I don't have that access. And there's going to be a lot of people that are like, "Well, just do it. Just ask that question." No. I don't have access to my medical records.
I know. People are like, "When did your mom start menopause?" I'm like, "I don't fucking know."
Yeah, well, my mom got
did she pass away? Nope.
No.
She's alive and well. Won't talk to me.
But are we going to take away the precious gift that we give them of being perpetual victims? No. That's the greatest holiday gift that I can give her. So,
God bless her little heart.
So there was something that I did. I went on this momentary quest, if you will. There's some questions that I have about a medical procedure that I had done when I was very, very, very little. And I'm not even going to go into details of what it is, but it doesn't make sense. And I've talked to doctors about it, and they're puzzled. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And it doesn't impact me at all, like, to my knowledge. But I had questions about it. So I was like, you know what, I want to figure this out. And so I called first off, the hospital that I was born in, it was like part of a restructuring. So like another hospital bought it out. And of course, being born in 84, the records aren't necessarily digitalized. They do keep things, but it's like on microfiche, and so it would take a lot of effort to get records from the place that provided this procedure. But I went and I called it because I know that I remember my doctor's name. I remember the name of the clinic that I was taken to. So I called them. This was several months ago. I called them and I was like, do you have any records? Anything on me at all? And they did. And they sent some over. I mean, we're talking like a handful. Here's the interesting thing. Nowadays, behavior like this would have been flagged, right?
Wow.
Behavior exhibiting any sort of abuse would have been noted. I'm reading these medical records, and it says, first off, I came in for like an ear infection, right? Like something like that. I used to get ear infections all the time growing up, so that's not surprising. But the chart notes from the doctor are patient girl exhibits high levels of anxiety. It is listing abuse, and then mother over talking, mother talking over, like trying to almost like distract. Like there's stuff there. I'm looking at this. I'm like, nowadays, this would have been looked into.
Yeah.
But we slipped through the cracks because I bet you my mom mentioned things like, we go to church. We're good churchgoers.
Yeah.
We're white. We love Jesus.
We're middle class or whatever. She has her after school activities.
And so they don't profile. You know what I mean? Like, or they not profile, but like I want to make sure I frame that correctly. We were the demographic that was the shining beacon of American society, right?
Yeah.
Nothing is going on. And then they would look at other families and be like, they would, how do I word this? They profiled other families when we were the ones that they should have been looking at.
Exactly. No,
and
I remember some kind of procedure I had, and we can talk off the record later about this, that I have memories of going in for something. And I'm like, what was that? I do remember coming out from anesthesia, and they gave me Mr. Pibb. And that was like my first time ever having Mr. Pibb. And it was delicious and magical for me. That's a core memory. But I know that there are memories I don't have access to. And the first time I ever went to therapy 25 years ago, I said this, and we've been trying to kind of tease them out for this long, and I'm just going to always be ready to welcome them should they feel safe enough to surface. But I do believe there's something going on that I can't access.
I have looked it up, and there's a very dark, sinister side to what I might be finding. And I don't know if that's accurate because I can't find any doctor that knows anything about it. Like every time I try to talk about it, they're like, we have literally no idea what you're talking about. Like, but I know how it was described to me. And I'm just like, what is this? Like what? Yeah. And I mean, I'm even going on like the Reddit threads, right? Like deep dive into like, not even Reddits, but the forums
Yeah.
right? Like weird ass stuff that you find. So I'm trying to figure it out, but it was really helpful to read those medical records, even though there were just like a few of them, because it confirmed that I'm not crazy, that I was exhibiting behavior. Because I remember my mom would tell me, because I was a cheery disposition. And by the way, I have a daughter that is this way too. Like, you don't know if she's sick. Because she's just happy. She's happy. She's bubbly. And I'm not taking that from her, right? But geez, it's really challenging when you're trying to convince, like, I remember we took my daughter in to the hospital, and she was like really, really, really sick. But she was bouncing everywhere. She was toddling everywhere. You know, she's a little toddler at the time. And I mean, they didn't think there was a problem. So we were in the waiting room forever. They brought her back, and they did tests. And there's something that shifts. Anybody that has been in a situation like this, like when you have a kid that all of a sudden they discover something really bad on a test, you start, like, more people start coming in and the energy shifts.
Oh.
And that happened. All of a sudden there was like 5 people in the room, 6 people in the room, 7 people in the room. And they're like, hey, so we're going to, you know, you might be staying for several days. Like, we're, you know, they're trying to, but
your kid had this
that's how I
disposition
was.
yeah.
And that's how
you
I
were the
was.
same?
And so my mom would, on the way, say, you have to act sick. You have to go in there. Yeah, you have to go in there and you have to actually show that you're sick.
Jesus.
Because I am tired of leaving doctors' offices and you not getting antibiotics because you're sick. And so, and then if I didn't perform, I was yelled at the whole way home.
Yeah.
Like, well, it's
And
obvious.
probably spanked when you got home too.
So it just, it's no surprise that I was exhibiting certain behavior, but
Well, like you said,
Yeah.
the fact that you're bringing this up, you said that just a minute ago, even seeing those records, as horrible as it must have been, was really confirming to you that you're not crazy.
It was
you didn't
liberating.
make it up.
Yeah.
No false memories. I mean, that has been my people are like, you're so brave to face these memories and tell your family, like, no, I'm not, you know. And I'm like, I don't know how brave it is, because it's so much, it's going to be hard either way. And this way is so much more liberating. So, and going through the deconstruction process the way I did and you did, there was no online community. I was flying blind. I felt like I was at the very edge of my sanity so many times. So that's why I wanted just to have this podcast where people tell their stories and people know they're not alone. Because if you're like lost in the woods, but you find a friend, then you can huddle together and you're not, you know,
Yeah.
there's something very healing about that. And
Yeah.
so I just I appreciate what you do online so much. You're really brave. And I know that's
Thank
like,
you.
you're not really supposed to go around calling women brave for being normal, but it does take courage. You know, it is scary to say, I'm going to poke the bear, and there will be consequences. But I need to say it because we need
Yeah.
to get as many people out of the burning building as we can.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that oh God, I don't know, it was probably a few weeks ago or something, but I put out on social media that when I really so I was like solely deconstruction stuff. Like I was, and I was like silly, right? When I first started coming on here, I approached deconstruction through humor. And then I started watching and observing, like, holy shit, Trump's going to be president a second time. Like, that's going to happen. And so I started kind of doubling down a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, but kind of like dipping my toe in it. Like, I'm not going to be so extreme because I don't want the Trump supporters coming after me. We're talking the misogynist men, like that dark side of the internet. I didn't want to deal with that because I watched how that literally destroyed people's lives. And then, I mean, so I would talk about like, hey, this is my story. This is my experience. Like, if he becomes president, it's not a matter of if, it's when they're going to conclude Project 2025. It's when this enacts, because the groundwork is there. He did that in his first term. He knows what we'll tolerate. And he's only ramping that up. He's not going to be in charge. He's not going to be the one at the helm. It's going to be somebody else. So it's going to happen. How do we do this? How do we stop this? If we can stop it, how do we navigate together? How do we galvanize? How do we rally? But, and then obviously, like, I just started going more into it. And so I actually feel like different versions of my personality are on different social media platforms, depending on how, like, what that social media platform can handle. But
compartmentalization.
Right. But I saw some people, men, discussing this a couple weeks ago, saying, I don't know what people are talking about, with losing brands and losing deals and stuff. I feel like I got more when I started talking out. And I was like,
I'm sure you
oh,
did.
Hell no. No, I was in discussions with really huge brands with doing brand deals, because I had my platform was growing so substantially prior to really talking out and speaking out against Christian nationalism, because they liked the character that I played. They liked the cutesy, the snarky, the like, oh, you know, they liked that naivete, that just the typecast that I did. And then I really started speaking out. And I don't have any, like, I stopped making money. I think I made 1 penny. 1 penny that doesn't even exist anymore, because he got rid of the penny. 1 penny in the last, like, 4 months on 4 or 5 months, and no, 6 months on Instagram. 1 penny.
Because they've shadow banned you or something, or just
I don't know.
deals?
My platform's really bizarre on Instagram. I've never really made money on Instagram, but like I used to make money on TikTok a lot, and I think I made like $4 in like 5 months or something, because first off, I stopped posting because the content that I had to post to get views was just fluff. And so when I started posting like actual stuff with substance, it wasn't getting any views, or it was getting blocked or banned.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to deal with that. So I started posting on Threads. But here's the interesting thing. I did not know this, but I guess on Threads, people monetize. I didn't know you could monetize. Yeah. Apparently you get invited into monetizing. So there's a lot of accounts. Yeah.
Smart.
Fascinating. There are accounts that have less followers that monetize off of Threads than I do. And I mean, like, I have a really good amount of engagement across platforms.
Yeah.
But I think based on what I talk about, it's just not, you know, I don't get the brand deals. I don't get the things. So what I say all this because, I mean, I'm so honored that, first off, I'm so honored to know you, because I love your content. I love your snark. I love that we both just enjoy watching the undoing of Driscoll. But I want to make sure that people understand we are not out here making money.
No. If anything, it costs me a ton of money to do this.
Yes.
Shit.
Yep. Yeah. We are not out here making money.
Yeah.
We are out here because we know that if we don't speak out, it can kill people, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're trying to save lives. That's what we're doing. And I can't put a price on that. You know, I've heard from so many, there's monetize. Okay, but then my message doesn't get out.
Mm-hmm.
And what will
exactly
it be for?
That's exactly it.
So, you know, there are people that get to be in the documentaries, and there are people that get the book deals. And I love that for them. But for every person that does a documentary and every person that does a book deal, I need people to understand that there are hundreds of thousands of voices that are not being heard.
Oh.
That people need to hear. People need to pay attention to.
Yeah, in my experience with people with the book deals is they start to get quieter. They're influenced to.
Yeah, except I think except like Tia Levings has been. I mean,
I don't know her. I know the
she
name,
did
but-
a well-trained wife.
Okay, that's how I know.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, just she deserves all the things. Every single thing that comes her way, all the things. Because she's doing very, very intense hard work in the Christian nationalism. She was part of the CREC, like Doug Wilson's ilk.
Nice. So that's the best when someone escapes and can take it down from the inside because they know.
Yeah. But yeah, it is. It's really it's challenging. It would be easier to be complicit. It would be
So
easier
much
to be
easier.
quiet, and it would have been a lot easier just to stay inside of the movement. But I was gonna die.
Same. Yeah, they do it on purpose. It's that's how they keep you. So,
Yeah.
all right, I have 5 dumb questions at the end. We can do kind of rapid fire to bring it up a little bit.
That's funny. That's what I do.
Okay, perfect. Because I love to get deep in the weeds, and I love to end on a dour note where I'm thinking, but I'm weird, like so. Let's.
Oh, I always have to end things with positive.
Gotta be
'cause, like,
positive.
yeah. Okay, so are we gonna do an altar call? Like,
Every head bowed, every eye closed. Okay, I have a theory that everyone has a Taco Bell order. Whether or not they still eat a Taco Bell, I believe that everyone at one point went to Taco Bell, and if they're kind of held at gunpoint or if they're in a car with people who are driving through, they will get something because they can't not. That's my theory. So I love to ask people what their Taco Bell order is.
okay. So, like, my Taco Bell order, if I know that there's no intestinal consequences, or my Taco Bell order now, like, I'm hypoglycemic, there's nothing that's off for me. Like, so
Your
so
body's
what do you,
keeping the score down to your enjoyment of Taco Bell.
yeah. So, like, what do you want my, because I feel like I went through stages.
I want to know your Taco Bell journey.
Okay. So high school was Nacho Bel Grande.
Okay.
In fact, there's this really funny story where we
R.I.P.
used to suck in. Right. Like, we used to suck in helium and then go to Taco Bell. This is like youth group.
This is such a youth group thing to do. Order
I'd
with the
like
helium
two
voice.
chalupas, please. I'd like 2 chalupas,
Those
please. Like,
poor
that's what
people
we would just,
working
like,
there,
order.
like, God damn it, the youth group let
Yeah.
out.
We would just like order things through helium, But Nacho Bel Grande, I really enjoyed that. And then there was, what is that? It's like the taco, the crispy taco wrapped in the soft taco
Crunch
with
Wrap
like
Supreme?
the liquid cheese.
Oh.
The Crunch Wrap. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Wasn't it like a Gordita Crunch Wrap Supreme or something like that?
Something like that.
Oh my God, that was so good.
Yeah.
Like, I can still think of,
Yeah.
I hope that when I go to bed tonight and I dream, that is what I dream of. And then it was 2 beef soft tacos and a Pinos and cheese. That's when I was pregnant because
Okay.
it's like, whatever. Anyway. And now it's just a beef soft taco, like, because it's going to get me what I need. And look, there's no shame.
No shame.
There's no shame because sometimes it just hits the spot. And look,
Let's destigmatize it.
right, taco time is great, right? But it's no Taco Bell.
It's so expensive.
And I'm pissed that they no
It's
longer
too
have,
healthy at this point.
right, they don't have Mexi nuggets anymore. Like, because it was that. It was
Another
Pinos and
RIP.
cheese and Mexi fries and 2 beef soft tacos. Like, that's when I was pregnant. It's not the same.
Totally agree.
It's not the same.
All right.
you know?
What's your coffee order?
Okay, look, I'm Seattle, all right? I have options. And it makes me really upset when people don't understand. So I will order this. It does not matter where I am in the world. I will order this. You are welcome ahead of time. I get an almond milk latte with honey, not the syrup, the real honey, like bear, like honey fucking bear honey. All right. So honey. So an almond milk latte with honey. But then here's the kicker. After it's been steamed and the honey's mixed in, you add the thing, then you put half and half on top. But here's why. Because it doesn't taste like earth. Because almond milk tastes like dirt. So if you add a little bit of half and half, it cuts that and it tricks your brain to think that you're having milk. I can't have dairy. Like I'm a dumpster fire if I have like.
But you will have some half and half.
Like I can have a little bit of cow's milk, like in oatmeal or something like that. But, and I can have, a little bit of like ice cream or something like that every now and then. But I can't, like, there is something about, like, I can't do lattes or anything like that. So almond milk it is. And I don't like almond milks. Like nuts don't make milk.
Can you do oat milk, or is that a hypoglycemia thing?
No, I can do oat milk, but it creates like a weird phlegm in my throat. Like it's just.
I'm getting all kinds of information. This is the greatest.
I know, but it's true. It's true. Like it just creates like. Look, I'm a singer.
You just need to build up a tolerance.
No, it's just always like that. Like it feels like it coats my throat the way that dairy coats my throat.
Yeah.
So yeah, no. Okay, so we're gonna repeat this. It's an almond milk latte with honey, bear honey, not syrup. FYI, Dutch Bros does syrup and Starbucks does syrup. So, and
they're out of the question.
Yeah, with honey, and then you add a little bit of cream and then whipped cream on top. Because, like, are you really living if you don't add the dollop of whipped cream? It's a fucking dollop. You know what I mean? Like, just add it.
All the way.
Unless you're allergic, don't do that. That's dumb.
No, do it if you're allergic. Worth it.
Yeah.
Do you ever look at your screen time, or would you just rather not know?
Oh, I don't want to know my screen
Same.
time.
Okay, that's where I am.
But it tells me every week.
It tells me, and I'm like, swipe. None of my business. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. On the same page with that. What is your favorite movie off the top of your head?
I will still, the Anna Green Gables, 1980s, Megan Follows.
Nice.
And Jonathan Crombie, First Crush.
Oh.
That's that whole saga, but I don't love the continuing one. Like,
Right.
I love Anna Green Gables and Anne of Avonlea, but I feel like the continuing saga, they waited so long that it's like, oh, girl, it is obvious that you have aged 20 years because I have aged 20 years. Like you're not, no one can believe that this is like 2 years post.
Yeah, I can't suspend my disbelief that much.
Right. Like your voice is lower because you're an adult and you're not like 16 anymore. So yeah, but I'll still take it. I'll still take Anna Green Gables. I'll take Ann and Gilbert. So I do love that, but I feel like there's just different genres because I love miniseries, but I also love Band of Brothers, the European theater. Like, yeah. It holds a special. I just love it. And I love Saving Private Ryan. Like
oh my God.
So like, yeah, and I love psychological. Thrillers and that sort of thing too. When I was growing up, my favorite movie was Twister because fun little
you
story
were a
about
dark
me.
kid.
No. I wanted to marry somebody who loved storm chasing, because I wanted our honeymoon to be storm chasing.
I will tell you, my friend from Oklahoma did marry a storm chaser, and their daughter still suffers PTSD from there's the denouement.
So my husband and I we're not thrill seekers at all. I'm good at like my job, like it's thrilling for me if I can keep my sensory nervous system at a baseline, because I'm still trying to focus on finding that. But but I also went through an Oregon Trail kick where I wanted my honeymoon to be reenacting the Oregon Trail. So
there's a theme with you. I love this. See, this is why I
Yeah,
like this
don't-
question, because I'm like, favorite Saving Private Ryan. Oh, really? This is amazing.
Yeah. It's more, I think that, so
I get it though. It just says that you
Yeah.
like the kind of cathartic, overarching thematic from a place of despair to towards one of hope.
would you say the depths of despair?
Yeah.
Since it's Anna Green Gables?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
yeah.
she was yeah, she's shipped to Avonlea and
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
well, that was her line. I'm in the depths of despair.
right.
That's
right.
Yeah. I think it also, like the World War II European theater, stems from, like, when I was in third grade, I read Number the Stars, which is my favorite book. So if you were going to ask that, that's my answer. Number the Stars by Lois Lowry, and it's an incredible book, but it's like it just hit a light switch went off in me, and from that point on, from third grade, I started studying the psychology of hate behind the Holocaust.
Wow.
And I still to this day, like, what a time, right? That's why it's like, with my writing on Substack, one of the things that I do is I say, okay, this is what's going on. This is how we got here, right? Like, this is what I was taught inside of Christian nationalism. But let's look deeper. Let's look at how, because we failed as a society during Reconstruction, post-Civil War, to punish those that were slave owners, this is how we got here. Like,
Yeah.
because we failed to do this, it gave the rise to the KKK, which gave permission globally. Like, we refused to take in Jewish refugees because we were still, because the KKK and that ilk, which contributed to a mass genocide. Like, we would not speak up as a country. And here we are, right? So, like, I don't know if I'm connecting the dots very, very well, but, like, that's what I do inside of my writing, inside of my Substack, is like, we are here because we failed to hold people accountable here. And because we failed to hold people accountable here, we gave permission to other societies that already leaned in that direction. We gave them permission. And in some cases, we even helped them.
All
So,
the way.
Yeah. So that's,
Enabled.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's why I think that I have an attack, like, Band of Brothers, Saving Private Ryan, there's just other beautiful, like, World War II movies. There's movies that talk about the Holocaust. I consume documentaries. That's kind of one of my favorite things to do, is consuming documentaries. I just feel like, because I was deprived of knowledge, I can't get enough of it. And it's super, super important to me that I learn as much as I can. And yeah, but the one thing that I always consumed, I was just a weird kid. Like, I had friends come over for a sleepover, and I was like, oh my God, we're going to watch The Diary of Anne Frank. The black and white, like, 1950s version of The Diary of Anne Frank.
They're
And I'm
like,
like, it's
oh,
so
it's
good.
so fun to spend the night at her weird
I was in
homeschool
fifth
house.
grade, like, but there was this idea of, like, being held, like, hiding from the bad people, right? Mm-hmm. And then simultaneously trying to figure out if you would be the one to hide people.
Wow.
And I see it now as, on the precipice of being 42. I see it, that I felt like I was somebody that was hiding,
Yes.
and I knew that I was going to grow up to be somebody that would hide people.
And you are.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like, it's just, I just knew. I knew that there was a reason, there was a purpose why I was learning this stuff. Because I had to ask my mom. I said, would we hide Jewish people? And I remember her discussing how we obey the laws of the land, and that Jewish people face persecution that we don't face because they're God's chosen people who turn their back on Israel. And like that was okay to me somehow. Like somehow she in a way said yes, but no, but no, but no, but no. But we would hide people that were being persecuted. And I see what it is now.
Yeah.
And it was just, as I grew up, the answer didn't sit with me. But I knew there was going to be a day. Because if we could allow it then we could allow it now. And so I knew that there would be a day where innocent people were going to need help. I don't know. Does
You
that?
knew 100%.
Yeah.
I think we incarnate with this kind of knowledge.
Yeah. I do too. Look, I don't know if reincarnation is like definitely a thing. I mean, I believe that the body keeps a score. So like the trauma that my grandma, dealt with when she was pregnant with my mom, whatever trauma that, like, you know what I mean? Like that passes, that is shown generationally. They're making those links. 'Cause it's passed through DNA, your DNA actually changes. But Hitler died. And a year later, Donald Trump was born. So I'm not saying,
I never
but I'm
knew
saying,
that.
yeah, Hitler died in 45. I think April of 45. And then Trump was born in June of 46. So, like, I'm not saying anything, but like,
It's
what a fun
interesting.
conspiracy theory
It's
to
just interesting.
trail down to, right? Even though I'd peg Stephen Miller to be more of that
He's
brand.
Goebbels. I don't know how to say the name.
Goebbels.
Goebbels.
Joseph Goebbels. Yeah. You know, interesting though, like, because again, that's like my thing. There's a couple other people that I'm like, okay, he's certainly Goebbels, but he also is very much like this person, as well. Adolf Eichmann. I'd more peg him, but, yeah, it's just,
The similarities are, I'm glad there are people paying attention to it and talking about it. And I'm so glad to know you. I need more friends like you. Oh, wish granted. I have you as a friend.
so when we make our trip to, Arizona, because like we're planning that. So like when we go to,
To visit Mark Driscoll.
yeah. Well, I feel like he needs a hug.
He does. He needs
So sad.
a nap and a teddy bear and some diaper
needs
rash
it.
cream.
A really, really long nap. But yeah, I think that what fun, what a day that would be, right? Like we need to get on top of planning that, because I know we've talked about visiting his church. So we really just need to make sure we get on top of planning that.
We may or may not take special signs. We may or may not ask him to go to Taco Bell with us afterwards.
Can we get a Nacho Bel Grande and a Gordito Crunch, a Supreme?
Can you bring back the Bel Nacho Bel Grande just for us?
Wait, it's not there anymore? They don't have
I
Nacho Bel
think
Grande?
it's RAP, but let's go investigate and reconvene.
That needs to happen immediately. Like, I'm deeply invested right now. Like, I will sacrifice the next 48 hours of my life. So yeah, no, I'm grateful for you. Really, really grateful for you. It's, you know, there are people that I have met throughout being online, and people that I viewed as giants, And to be able to now be in the same room as them and be at the same table as them is just profoundly delightful. I'm just so grateful. I really am. The ability to exchange ideas with people that I find brilliant is something that I don't take for granted. I just feel like all of us, we don't do this enough, you know?
Yeah. Because talking about this in this kind of forum is something that I needed so badly. And I think it would have, I almost did not survive my deconstruction process. And so putting this out there, I hope will help at least one person. So thank you for being the first guest on my podcast, Deconstruction Workers. Everybody go find Stephanie Warren online. Please tell them how to find you.
Oh, yeah. There's a link tree in my bio that's going to take you to all the different places. I'm on Substack. My Substack is called A Crack in the Stained Glass, because that's what I feel like we are doing. Stained glass is beautiful, but I think that it is in many ways a facade, because we were told that we were beautiful and lovely, that Christianity, evangelicalism was beautiful and lovely, and it was a facade. And so I think that we're, anyway, crack in the stained glass. But really, ultimately, you can just Google me, Stephanie Jo Warren, and you'll find my Substack, Instagram, Threads, TikTok. I'm everywhere that Mark Driscoll does not want me to be. So,
I love you.
Yeah. I love you. I'm grateful for you.
Peace be with you.
And also with you.